Welcome. My name is Anthony McClain, and this is The Solution. On today's episode, we discuss Black excellence and radical visibility, how it makes us feel, where it stems from, and more importantly, what it needs to transform into. Today's guest is Nick Hallmon, motivational speaker, educator, and executive producer of the show. Abby Oladokun, attorney at law. So today's topic is Black excellence and radical visibility.
Yeah.
Black excellence is something that I definitely want to expound upon just because I remember the first time I had seen the hashtag. I think it was Diddy had posted him and like a whole bunch of other black folks at the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And like the Kardashians were at the end. And I remember he cropped them. He cropped them out and it was like hashtag Black excellence. And it was one of those things where I just remember it made me feel good to see other brothers and sisters win.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just like a narrative that like we don't get often, but just seeing like the black girl magic and the black boy joy and us celebrating each other and lifting each other up, it was just inspiring. In fact, it made me want to rise up to the right. So I was like, oh, there's a party I'm missing that I'm waiting on this invitation right quick.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating and it's necessary, and I want to know how the two of you feel about it.
I think Black excellence, kind of what you were talking about, is very inspiring. Sometimes it can be daunting for me too. Like, it makes me think of like, damn, there is so much I have to do to get to that like peak. Though one could argue that, you know, success doesn't look, Black excellence doesn't have to look the same way.
True.
But I agree with you that like Black excellence for me is just like Black people being happy and doing what they love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the people that were there are all gifted musicians who are like, look, we're in this like nice ass, you know, gala.
Getting it.
We're all kicking
Looking
it.
good.
You know, there was
Extra
definitely some like, you know, Henny mixed up in there. You say,
Real talk. Real talk.
You know, and I love that. It's just like, yes, we're in this space that's a predominantly white space. We're also just like clinging to each other and just having our own private moments. So I do think Black excellence I think about Black excellence like that. Like, yes, we're all successful, but like, I love when I see Black people kind of come together, like at a conference or whatever, and we're all just like kicking together. That's my thing.
Well, there's like that natural gravitation.
Yes, I love it.
We have, like, it's even that old thing, you come in and you see each other across the room. You always get the look, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think it just made me feel, it made me feel excited and great about being Black.
Totally.
And it made me feel excited about being Black, which I think there's not always excitement attached to Blackness.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, though.
Like, in all honesty, you don't always feel excited about, you aren't like, oh, I get to wake up and be Black today. Like, which it is a blessing, it is a journey, it is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
But we don't always understand it that way because of the heaviness that we carry around. So I think seeing that there is an excitement. And I think the one thing it did for me that was really great was it made me appreciate even more the circle of friends I have that do look like me.
Totally.
Because I was like, and then I loved when people started to apply the hashtag to like their own groups. And there are times where it's like, I'm sure there's questionable things where it's like Black excellence, and it's like, y'all ain't doing nothing excellent. But the reality is, like, you literally do look and you go, oh man, like, because at the end of the day, it is just Black people enjoying each other, loving the fact that we're all like in a place of being like-minded, success-wise, aspiration-wise, things like that. And so it definitely made me appreciate my circle even more, you know, and see them as excellence.
Absolutely.
I feel like there's that mixture of like the unity, the positivity, and the possibility. It's just something that's just really inspiring. You know what I'm saying? There's things that are interesting about it. I remember when I first thought about talking about this episode, the idea of white exceptionalism came to mind, and it's interesting just because I feel like they're definitely not similar. White exceptionalism, I feel like, is more so something like one of the major pillars as to why everybody that wasn't white is like subhuman and subclass, whereas Black excellence, I feel so, is more so about equality. It's more so about me too. It's more so about like, I can shine just as hard. Whereas Black excellence isn't meant to be oppressive in no shape, way, or form, just celebratory.
Exactly.
But like, I just think that's an interesting dichotomy,
Right.
and I also feel like outside looking in, if I was somebody that wanted to get upset about somebody taking a knee, I could see somebody being like, "Oh well, what's the difference?"
Oh, I've definitely seen. I feel like I've seen that.
Yes.
I've seen people be upset, and they're like, "Well, you should just be excited for the accomplishment. To attach color to it. How come everything has to be about race?" Everything is about race. Newsflash.
I was like, this country was based on
She was like, wait, let's
Yes.
you know what I mean? So
That's how you justify black people building it for free.
So I've definitely seen people take issue with it, but I also think there's just a lack of understanding of the fact that the success of black people does not come at the oppression of
Anybody
other
else.
Correct.
Brother, say it again.
And so I think
One more time.
it's true. The success of black people does not come at the oppression or expense of anyone else.
Right.
And I think that is a thing that, because people have learned that the success of a people group has to come at the cost of others, and because that's basically what we've been taught, right? That's basically what we've been taught, is that in order, this people, like, that's the reason race was created.
Yes.
Right.
Was so that a
Yes.
people group could succeed at the expense of another.
Someone else.
Yes.
Yes.
And so therefore, if it's like, well, if you guys all of a sudden succeed, someone has to suffer because there's no way we could all succeed, because if that was the case, then we'd have to look back and think that we've been doing this wrong the whole time.
And you're telling on yourself, because you're telling me, okay, you getting mad at black excellence and the idea that black people can rise and be successful is acknowledging that white people being successful came at the expense of somebody else. That's not what we're on.
No.
We just want to have
Be successful
the same,
too.
Can I get a piece of the pie? I'm not trying to take it all. I literally just want a sliver for me and mine.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think, like, also, and we've talked about this multiple times, I think there are a lot of white people that do not want black people to like themselves or become successful. Like, why does it bother you
It's threatening.
that I am praising black people being successful? Like, what is it about
Because
that?
I think the thing is that intrinsically, and it's similar from the standpoint of white pride, is something that's like white nationalism is negative.
Exactly.
But there's no black nationalism. Like, there is no, I think, and once again, similar to what you guys said before, my success came at the cost of others. And it's really difficult for folks to think that, like, hey, I just actually want everybody to be successful.
Yeah.
I just want to breathe the same air. I want to be able to swim in this part of the ocean. I want to be able to swim in this. I mean, it's being 100, right?
Drink from the same fountain.
Yeah, like I just want equality, the audacity.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be far-fetched. And the fact that it's so difficult to convince people of that lets you know how they really view equality, how they really view their stature in life.
Right.
Well, I think people don't want equality.
Yes.
I think what they want is the comfort of the myth of equality.
Yeah.
So people, I don't think people actually want, like, equality in the realness of what it is, because equality is uncomfortable to what people are used to.
It would mean loss.
And it would so equality would mean that you'd be at the same level. So what people want, and what you're saying with, like, people being so threatened by the pride, is that, well, a black person being self-actualized and having pride in themselves has always been negative.
Yes.
Has always been, like, Nat Turner, that was negative.
Yeah.
The audacity of feeling that he could be free and that he could go and do things that literally the same people had been doing to did to the Native Americans. That he would do to his oppressors what they had done to others, was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No. He got too full of himself.
Yeah.
And throughout time we see, I mean, that's what we see with Kaepernick. Kaepernick got too full of himself. He started to believe in himself too much. He started to think that he had this audacity of being this, like, he needs to just be an athlete. He needs to shut his mouth. Why is this black man talking about
anything
equality
except
and freedom?
for football?
Why is he saying anything? He's doing too much. And so I think people like equality as long as it just means being a comfortable version of who I want you to be, and only a few of you being around.
Yes.
And only a few, and that's the thing. I think, like, you think about even what diversity means to people, and diversity usually means a couple sprinkles in a vanilla sundae. No one ever looks at diversity and goes like, oh yeah, I'm thinking like swirl ice cream at Forever Yogurt.
Yeah.
They're thinking the vanilla. Nah, nobody. That's not diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity is like a giant, like, tub of, like, vanilla ice cream, like 4 chocolate sprinkles, maybe one rainbow sprinkle. Let's not
Right.
get crazy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like half a piece of cookie dough.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's
Right.
like that.
The
that's
rainbow
gonna be it.
sprinkle was great. I'm
It's
still
like,
on
but for
that.
real, because it's like people are like, oh, not too. I don't want to do too much.
Yes.
We
Right.
can't,
Don't
you
put
know,
it in this bathroom.
yeah,
Oh.
don't let them do too much. And so I think it's very offensive to the society we live in for the people that are supposed to just be grateful for the crumbs to all of a sudden say we're gonna bake a cake and throw our own party.
Yeah, without you, and we don't necessarily need your resources because we are more than talented, more than savvy enough to create our own system. We just literally have obstacles such as white oppression that prevent us from creating systems that will help us thrive. And I think a lot of people, especially when people say, you know, well, you don't have to put race in it, you don't have to like talk about like black excellence or black girl magic or black boy joy. It's like, I don't think you understand that you are the norm.
Yeah.
Like you are so entrenched in in whiteness, you don't even understand.
And it's not your fault, yeah.
It's like you just don't see it, and I think
it really is.
It's one of those things where a friend of mine had told me when she went to Rwanda for her roommate's birthday, and she was like, when you go somewhere and everyone else is black, it's like you literally, as an African American, if you're not like in the hood, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like just you're just like oh man, like you don't even know how to act because it's just such a foreign space. And I think to myself, like, I'm sure white folks must feel that way. Correction. Never.
well,
I mean,
if they choose to, because so my parents are
of course there's exceptions. Let me clear that up before Twitter, whatever.
For your ass
everybody calm down.
For your ass gets roasted.
Yes, calm down, yes.
No, for instance, I feel like for me, my parents are Nigerian, and one thing that I want to do for some of my African American friends, I would love to bring them to Nigeria, because I think there is something about going to an all black country that's just it is just something else. But I will tell you, I have some white friends. I would never bring you. You don't know how to act.
It is too.
You don't I'm just not going to be
touching hair,
saying stuff and I think that goes back to this idea of black excellence has been a thing. If we live in a society that yes, the forefathers and all this stuff, but if we, unfortunately, black people were brought here forcibly, transatlantic slave trade, but in the motherland, in the diaspora, black excellence has been the norm. Y'all just haven't been aware of that, and so when we bring it up, we're just connecting the dots because it's been our thing.
No, for real though. Actually, no. So to super piggyback on that, what she had said that when she went there, the ceremony was a week long, and they were like, so you're there, and
it's for a birthday?
And no, it was for a wedding.
Oh, okay.
And every day had its own individual celebration. And you can tell that these customs and these movements and these dances are built upon thousands upon thousands of years of history. And we can't even fathom that. We literally don't know where we belong. And we get excited. We know what we get it.
That's a generational
thing. For a week of customs.
Yeah.
We couldn't manufacture a week of African American customs.
Yeah.
We can't. And just the realization of that was just all we really don't truly fully understand and can't grasp. And I really love the point in the way you illustrated black excellence been a thing. We're just connecting the dots, and I think
that's really good.
I think that's powerful. And I think someone needs to especially someone young needs to hear that and be this that's some soft that man huge. I'm taking that one with me.
You should absolutely.
Yeah.
You can make a shirt.
Black excellence been a thing. Been a thing. For real.
Yeah, it really has.
I actually might make that. It's been a thing.
Yeah. It's true. And it's so crazy how when we choose to come to realization of ourselves in a society that thrives on the oppression of ourselves, it all of a sudden becomes that we're brushing up against the societal norm. But as opposed to being viewed as such, we're just viewed as being out of line.
Out of line.
And we're basically becomes this thing where it's you guys we aren't playing by the rules anymore.
Right.
And so, but that's just this horrible idea is that we aren't playing by the rules. And I think when you really think about this concept of Black excellence, it has been a thing, and there is this reclaiming of celebrating ourselves, but celebrating ourselves through our own understanding of ourselves.
That's so
because we have been celebrated oftentimes for the most base level characteristics and often very negative stereotypes of ourselves. So like when you look at how we're celebrated or how we're put on in society, it's rare that like the actual traits that would advance us or get us further aren't celebrated. Like we aren't celebrated for being, inventors or scientists or intellectuals.
They brush all that under the rug.
Even when you look at like history or even like Black History Month, for instance, like which we're in right now, oftentimes we really only learn to celebrate Black people that were involved in fighting against the oppression or the struggle. So it's like the only time Black people did anything was when we were working out for our own self-interest.
Yeah.
So you basically learn that we didn't contribute anything to our country, and the only true Black heroes were trying to free Black people, which basically paints this picture that we're just selfish as all get out. Yeah. And if we aren't trying to free ourselves, then we really haven't contributed at all. We haven't done anything at all or contributed anything. And so
and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Which is, you look at all the things that we have contributed. So, I think the idea of Black excellence is something that is reclaiming this narrative that's been hijacked, that's been stolen, and we're saying that we're not going to allow the narrative of who we are to continue to be something that's so negative and just so untrue.
Yeah, I think reclaiming the narrative too, and also like you were talking about inventors, and not only inventor of like, physical things like machines and whatnot, but inventors of clothing, language, hairstyle. I think it was Jay-Z who was like, we are the culture, like we move the needle. Whatever Black people think is hot is going to be hot.
Period.
Like
no questions asked.
I'm not arguing about that. Like, especially like Black people from like the hood, from like wherever, like that is the incubator of style, music, fashion.
That's the commodity.
And then people see it, and then they take it over. I forgot her name. She's a black female stylist. She's on Instagram. I hope AVN something. But she has a shirt that says "Ghetto until." Ghetto until proven marketable. Profitable.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
I bought that shirt because it is so real. And like,
that's real.
It's just so, it's like we cascade all this stuff that is like, oh, that's like really weird. That's like quote unquote ghetto or whatever. But then you see some white person just take that and market it and boom.
And then it's good.
Well, all that stuff.
Like cornrows. I remember.
Big butts was ghetto.
Boxer braids.
Big lips was ghetto. Like all these things were ghetto until you get a lip kit that pops off.
And now it's like has big lips.
Yeah, and it's like it's not ghetto anymore. It's worth $1 billion, right?
And I think it's like about Black excellence. Like it really comes in all forms. And I think it's just us being really aware of how special we are as a people and how much we create on a daily basis. Out of
that we just need to own. Random. Like side note, but not too random. I was in Europe and I was in Germany and I was talking about like all of like the Black colloquialisms and they were all like, oh, like we don't like they don't translate. They're like we actually don't have like that. Like y'all do that. Like that's something. I was like, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. I'm not surprised. But there's a quote that I wanted to unpack for a while and I wanted to like feature it in like an episode months ago, but let me read y'all real quick. As I found during that time, the Black public intellectual, so defined, is largely responsible for defenses and explanations of Black culture or for arguing in favor of Black people's humanity and right to life for a white audience. This necessarily constricts the questions you are able to ask and degrades the level of discourse. Consider the amount of energy expended by Black writers and pundits defending the character of victims of police violence. To participate in this dialogue requires an excavation of Black pain for the consumption of a white public. It takes up space that could otherwise be used to consider the function of policing or the root causes of racist violence. It leaves no room for new ideas or even real debate. As a writer, I've spent more time asking white people to see me as a human than I have thinking about the world I would like to live in.
Yeah.
Chills, bruh. I mean, just like,
That shit's real.
As a writer, I have spent more time asking white people to see me as a human than I have thinking about the world I would like to live in. Like just pause. Like I think about, imagine if we can just contribute.
Yeah.
Right.
Like just like amidst all the things that we're creating already, that's hella marketable and popping and you need it and you want it and all of this.
Yeah.
We're still trying to be equal.
Yeah.
If you took the chains off, what can't we do, dog? Like that, like whoa,
Right.
like this just, man, like how are the most oppressed still the most popping?
Well,
If you took the chains off, dog.
I honestly think about that sometimes because I think that I think I might have read that article because like it's this whole idea that we have spent a lot of time basically explaining that 2 + 2 is 4. And because we continue to say 2 + 2 is 4, oh, well, you know what, I think it's 5. No, it's actually 4. I think it's 5. Okay, I'm gonna show you 2 items and 2 items. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4. I'm not seeing the same thing you are.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see that it's 4.
Yeah, so we get stuck at that.
It's actually 4. I think you're exaggerating the fact that it's 4. No, it's 4. It's not that big of a deal if it's 4 or
And that's
not.
where we've been.
Why does it even matter?
Yeah.
I'll say it's 5, you say it's 4, and we just all keep living our lives. And we keep just arguing this basic point. So when someone's like, yo, we should really be working on our multiplication. We should be doing long division. We should be doing algebra. I can't even get there because I'm still arguing
With you
with
about
the
2 +
world
2.
with the world I live in
Yeah.
about 2 + 2 being 4. And so we don't get to the chance to make real solutions and to solve problems because we're still arguing the existence of a problem.
Yes.
And then we have times like now where, you know, there's reasons to celebrate it and reasons to not, where people are like, oh, we're finally having the conversation. And everyone, you know, and that's part of the reason we want to do the show is because so people have conversations.
Yeah.
And you see it and people sit down and they talk and inevitably it's someone sharing an experience that if you're of color, you've known since you were like 5 years old, so it's nothing new to you.
Right.
And then someone else just going, oh, well, the important thing is we start having the conversation. And then that's it. And nothing happens from there. And you're like, well, we leave this conversation, like,
And nothing gets done.
you're still gonna think the way you think, and I'm still gonna live in what I live in. So there's really a big difference.
Right.
And I think I think a part of it is, and I think a part of what I'm seeing now is there's amongst us a kind of just a move to go, we're not gonna explain this.
No.
I'm done explaining.
No.
We're not gonna, like, if you don't get it, that's okay, but we have more important things to do
Yes.
than to continue to explain, to continue to debate, to continue to argue. Like, we're just not gonna do that anymore. We're actually going to make moves and change things.
Facts.
Honestly, I think that's low-key a tactic. To get me to keep talking about the
The
same
same,
thing
yes.
over and over because you
Yes.
know that once you get it, once you know better, you're supposed to do better, theoretically.
Yeah.
But once you get in your head that like black people aren't treated the same, we need to change the way policing works, you're gonna actually have to make a change.
Do work.
And so once you keep me here distracted by the fact that I need to explain to you that I'm a human, we're never gonna get to the part where actionable change happens because you want me to keep explaining to you.
No.
Also, there's something oppressive as hell in me having to explain to you about racism. Google is free. Like, how are you forcing me on top of all the things I have to do, I'm supposed to explain to you? Meanwhile, there's still this idea that, like, you know, white people are the superior race and all this stuff. Okay, so Google. Read up. Figure that out. Like, why am I doing all this back-breaking labor? Like, it was going, like, something that you said, we were talking about 2 + 2 is 4, and you're like, are you sure? Really? I think in light, that's a weird, that's like, black people suffer from gaslighting so much. We keep being told that these things don't actually happen.
Right.
Like, racism, it doesn't really happen. Like, are you sure?
It's in your head, you're
Are you sure that
exaggerating.
person followed you around the store? Like, maybe they were just trying to help you. Nah, they weren't trying to help me because she didn't ask, can I help you? Or, did that person stop you on the road? Like, no, like, it's a thing. And I just hate having to explain the same thing over and over. So to your point, it's one of those things where it's like, you know what? I'm on step 2. If you want to be on step 1, that's cool. But I can't be there with you because we're actually trying to get something done here.
Yeah. Right.
And it's just really, really frustrating, I think, like you said, to be in this time. Like, yes, we're having a conversation, but are we doing anything? Like, it's almost past conversation a little bit.
It is.
Yeah.
And we need to get to, like,
because the conversation we're having is such an old conversation.
Yeah.
It's really not new to it. Like,
I will say the thing that's fascinating about that, and it's the perfect segue, is that I think that's what Black excellence is now becoming. Like when you listen to folks like Meek Mill, also shout out to artists and like musicians and everybody that's being like in the forefront of necessary change. Like this prison reform system, we gotta get way better at that. When it comes to the way we see each other and the way we see like ourselves and Black loves and Black and Black community and Black support, we gotta change that too. But it's much more so in the headspace of like economic inclusion and just really realizing like everything that's like for example, the music industry makes billions of dollars and the artists make like 3% of that money. Oh yeah. And it's just like so woosah. Like there's an education that's happening. There's you know what, y'all still on this 2+2 stuff. I'm on this like entrepreneur stuff. I'm on this like I'ma build it because ain't nobody gonna build it for me. And if I'ma catch up in this way, woosah. No, it's it's not a threat, it's a promise. You know what I'm saying? If I catch up in this way, because the thing that I also find that's interesting too is diversity, like equity and inclusion is interesting and it's necessary and everybody's doing it in a very reactive manner. It's like I messed up, Dapper Dan, tell me how to do it. Like that's fine, but like. That's 3 + 3 is 6. So that's like one step. That's great. You know what I'm saying? but like real entrepreneurship, real ownership, real understanding is I think the wave that we must that we have to be on. There's literally no other option. And I'm hoping that we as a people are allowing ourselves to really move in that direction and fully understand. And something else too that I really want to piggyback on what that is, and I think it's interesting, and I was having some conversations with some mentors of mine. We as Black people don't automatically help each other. And what I mean by that is from a standpoint of if I call you and I need help fundraising for this, or I need you to donate to X, I gotta like be extra polite and try to like canoodle you and like hopefully you down. Whereas like other folks and other groups just seem to be like, I call you no matter what the price is, I make it happen because I got you and you got me, and there is no fear of one of us is gonna fall. There is no fear of you're taking advantage of me. There is no fear of we're not looking out for each other. I think that I did because we're first generation wealthy. Correction, none of us are wealthy. First generation rich. We got trauma from being broke. And we don't trust each other enough. And that's that whole Black love stuff that we can automatically assume that everybody has the best intentions. I think it's one of those things where when talented Black people find other talented Black people, this needs to be an automatic giving up. I got you, you got me, we're building together. The mission isn't as united as it should be. It's a bit too individual, and the quicker we allow ourselves to deconstruct that individualness and understand that we need to all come up, we need to raise all boats, that changes the game. And it's like interesting because like school and some things equipped us with the knowledge, but the culture of togetherness, the culture of community and being holistic about it is something that we also need to bring to the table as well.
We see it in business, but I also think we see it in the world of politics as well. And I think the world of politics is really...
The world of politics ain't for us. I mean, we can talk about that all day. Go ahead, fam.
But yeah, true. So I understand I think that we, just in terms of us being able to band together and have a collective voice, there's clearly power within us.
Of course.
And there's power within our vote. If it wasn't the case, folks wouldn't pander for it so much. Folks wouldn't try so hard to suppress it as well, you know?
Yes, I'm about to say, you better bring it in.
If that wasn't the case, both those things wouldn't try to happen. But I do think there is a unity that we have to be aware has been actively oppressed in us or been like suppressed, and we have to actively be working towards that unity at all times.
In your opinions, are there any negatives to Black excellence?
I think Black excellence while it is an amazing standard to set, one, I think sometimes it can be too restrictive. So we get to a situation where Black people feel like Black excellence is only, you know, ending up in a boardroom. And that is the only way that other Black people or other, you know, people in society give you respect, is if you're a Black person who's making this amount of money and you have this particular type of job. I think Black excellence can also be anxiety inducing. Like you can really get to a situation where you feel this pressure that like other groups don't necessarily have, where you feel like you have the culture on your back, where it's like, you know, I can't mess up at work because they're not gonna let anybody else in if I mess up at work, or you know, this is gonna ruin me at like my job period, you know, and I'm not gonna be able to get another job. So I think Black excellence can sometimes become like, you know, this chip on your shoulder where you're just unable to really flourish because you feel like you have to compete to the highest level that other people just don't have to think about. So those are two that I'm thinking of right now.
That's real. That's true.
Sure. It almost feels as though you don't have any room to make mistakes.
No room to make mistakes at all.
Yeah.
Because we do it to each other, right?
Yeah,
like,
I was about to say, even before Black excellence, I feel like folks felt that. At least I know. I
felt that way.
We hold ourselves to a really, really high bar.
Negatives. I feel like there is an aspect of wanting to move the needle for what Black excellence is, and just wanting to create new norms amongst us. I feel that we definitely always want to be evolving, and I think as a people, we have been conditioned by the society that we live in to basically get the kind of just like a small bit of something and think we've made it. You know? So like I remember you like even like Black History Month. Like
I mean it's the shortest month of the year. I mean if we're being 100, it's the shortest month of the year. And then two, if we're really serious about equality, Black History Month can't exist. Only because Black history is American history and needs to be taught year round.
Exactly.
You know, like so like if we're being serious about it,
it needs to become a part. Highest paid rappers ever. That's it. That's the be all end all Black excellence. I think that would be a disservice to what it truly is and could be.
And I think also just making Black excellence as inclusive as possible for all identities. So we're not like, you know, super heteronormative, only like I think it just needs to be really clear, because I think one thing that Black people are so diverse, but it's in a weird way we don't like talking about how diverse we are, because we like to, and I mean all people do this, but we like to keep things very like centered and very organized, and like this is the definition, we're sticking to it. And I think Black excellence can only really be fulfilling and an effective tool if it includes everybody and all facets of the identity that tons of Black people have. And it's a good thing, because that's how you get like people who can, you know, make, you know, therapy or mental health for Black men. It's only going to be, you know, as effective as the people who are at the table creating the dialogue.
If we shut them out, which we did,
then it's not helpful.
For the longest time,
it's not going to be effective.
Then it's a part of the problem.
And
correct.
That can go with any type, like you were saying, like, you know, employment. If we're only bringing like music stars and athletes at the table, that's the only type of Black excellence we're going to see. It needs to be everybody, from the entrepreneur to Diddy. Like, it needs to be the full spectrum.
I actually have a question that I just thought of now.
What's up?
Is there any way that we, because you know you made the point about Black History Month not being a thing and just becoming part of the culture.
Yes.
Do we think that true Black excellence is Black excellence not having to be a thing anymore?
Oof, that's a good one. Because people have the same thing about Black Girl Magic, because they don't like Black Girl Magic, because it suggests that, like, you know, Black women need magic in order to survive all like the craziness. Like, when will Black Girl Magic not become a thing and we can just be? So I see that.
Because I think about it in the sense of, I love it, but then I also think, and my children, I'm sure we're gonna have a conversation with them about it, but my grandchildren, it'd be dope for them to be like, oh, what's Black excellence? Be like, oh yeah, there was this time where the country didn't
you know what?
We had to
see
highlight.
us.
You know what?
And so we had to highlight who we were, but now we live in a world where we're highlighted on the same. Now, granted, I don't know if we're gonna have that 2 generations from now, but I'm trying to think of how we evolve. You know what I mean? Because I do think, like, you know, I think your Black History Month point is so poignant and so real. about it does need to be this thing where we talk about one day like, yo, what was Black History Month, Grandpa? And like, oh, you know, we used to not be in the history books.
Yeah.
You used to open the history book and you only heard about three or four of us. But now we're all through it, and we're actively fighting for that to continue, so we don't have to confine ourselves to 1 month. You know, but I do think that is the point of, we basically got the month, and I don't, not that I know of, there's people fighting for the history books.
Right, actually. It took me a minute, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was reticent because I was like, we just got it, you know?
I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm not trying to get rid of it. Let me keep it.
We just got it. We just got it.
Yeah.
But the real talk is, I mean, essentially, it will just have to be that normalized. It will just have to be, because the real thing is, what Black excellence is not just a reminder to self and a reminder to us that we matter, that we do exist and that we're capable. It's also a resounding decree, essentially, for equality. Yeah. And it's like, but you're right, once we're equal, we won't really need it. And y'all just know that we shine all the time. Y'all just, there will be, and we won't have to teach you anymore. It'll just be understood.
And I think it's not, because I do think that it won't even be that they'll know or that we have to teach anymore. It's that we'll have the ability to control the narrative the same way that it's being. Because when I honestly think about it, I don't dream of this utopia where we're understood and we're fully appreciated. Yeah. Because that may not be a thing. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a nihilist by any means. But I have faith that day may come, but I also don't work towards a day of full understanding. I work towards a day where the negative narrative that's being put out, I can go, we actually don't want that, so we're gonna squash it. Oh, you know what? We're to the side. We're actually gonna, you know what I mean? Is the representation and being in the room and controlling rooms where that is not the case anymore. And even if you don't understand, because we've seen that understanding may not happen. Right. So even if you don't understand, that's fine. But this is still the move we're gonna make, and this is what we're gonna go with, because we have power as well.
Agreed.
It's about control. It really is. Like, if you're able to control the narrative, like, it kind of, like, yes, like, working for equality is helpful, it's necessary, but if you have the narrative, if you can write the history books, if you can decide that we only get a month, that's really where the power lies, like you were saying. It's like, I'm not going to seek to understand with you, because you can choose whether or not you're going to understand. Like, you
That's what's happening to us right now. It's just like, we're not going to understand because we don't have to.
I don't have to understand because I can say, you know, I can write whatever I want. So it's really about having the control to say, no, this is it. Really bring the truth forward. Because it's just crazy, I think, as you were saying, like, Black history is American history, how much people just don't know that Black people have contributed to this country.
In a major way.
The White House was built by Black folks. People don't know that. You know, like, we don't know basic things. Or, like, it's just, there's so many things that I think, because the oppressed, the marginalized don't control the narrative, there's so much of our beauty, of our glory, that is not able to shine through. And for us, it's about being able to get those reins back, and whether you like it or not, it's going to be out there. So I completely agree with you. That's really not about seeking to understand. It's like, nah, I just want the pen so I can write the story myself.
It's okay that we don't understand, but we acknowledge, we understand that like this is real. We understand that like what you're going through is valid. We understand that your experiences matter. We understand that you bring brilliance and beauty and everything else to the table in your own perspective. That that's really what it's about. Because I think to myself, you're right, there's a bunch of stuff that I don't understand, but I don't discredit. And that's, I feel as though we are not being understood and being discredited.
And people are not going to credit us until they fully understand, which they may never come to the full understanding of. So essentially, we're waiting for a society to do the most basic of things so that we can have the most basic of privileges and most basic of rights. So we're basically saying, okay, we're just hoping one day you'll understand so we can be equal. As opposed to going, well, where do these things lie? And these things lie within this power. And so I still hope and pray and believe for understanding. I think that's the absolute greatest thing.
But at the very least, don't discredit my existence.
I think at the end of the day, Black excellence really is us having this ability to celebrate ourselves despite the world that we're in. And I think you talk about Black excellence always having been a thing, and you connect it, back to the motherland. And I think even when we came here, it continued.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think you look at all of like music, art, like poetry, all these different things that came out of oppression. The beauty of Black creations wouldn't be what it is without the oppression that we endured, and the strength of Black people wouldn't be so special and wouldn't be so, for lack of a better term, magical if it wasn't for the oppression that we endured. So I think Black excellence is just realizing that, we were formed in the fire, and we are diamonds, that have been formed in the fire, and really seeing that
validation
and celebrating that. We don't need to have someone putting a little appraise up and talking about our cracks and whatnot. Nah, bro. Like,
we good.
We good.
Yeah. I feel like for Black excellence, it's like the removal of the need for white acceptance. Like, I think a lot of us, and it's varying degrees for every Black person, but I think part of us, because of how the condition that we're in, the society that we're raised in, we seek to be accepted. We seek not to be seen as like the troublemaker or like, the loud one. Like, even as I have gotten older, like talking about racism, talking about white people, there was definitely a time where I'm like, girl, do you really want to say that? Do you really want to be seen as the one? And I think true liberation and true excellence is, and it comes at a cost, don't get me wrong, so you can just say these things, there are no consequences. Like, we definitely lose jobs, lose our lives, lose a lot of things by being truthful about the experiences that we go through. But I think there's excellence and there's liberation in being free to talk about these things and say, this is what it is. 2 + 2 is 4, period. I'm on to multiplication.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I have mixed feelings, and none of them are bad. It's just, it's not cohesive. So it's like I have like a lot of from the standpoint of like, so that in and of itself is is amazing. But then too, I just really, really love the point, and granted, as to where Black excellence needs to transform into is it needs to transform it into something that doesn't need to exist anymore. And like that in and of itself is just like,
that could be a whole episode in of itself.
Right. And like that is just so, in this moment right now, just feels so heavy, but in a good way. And this is one of those things of, we have a lot of work to do, and I feel like collectively as a community, we're trying to figure out ways in which we can like achieve that and do that. We're in this headspace where we're no longer looking for handouts. And granted, correction, we were never looking for handouts.
True.
It's just one of those things of like, we're where, at least the way I see it, that diversity, inclusion, equity thing is cute, but that's not going to be the answer. If like everything that we make is ours, these thoughts, these ideas, and all of that, like we don't need to really share that with anybody else but us. Or how about this? We don't need to share those profits with anybody else but us. And that's kind of the headspace now that we're allowing ourselves to transform into, and it's realized. And I'm just excited to see how we as a community are going to embody that, what we're going to do with that, and hopefully the great changes that come from it. But just that whole point of like, at some point in time, it's going to have to not be necessary. And it seems, and it is so necessary now, that it's almost hard to fathom that like it's almost like, I feel like when folks are like, oh, well, there's no way we could have a Black president. And like that happened, and then folks are like, oh snap, like the moment where like we no longer need Black excellence, or like need to proclaim our humanity and our civility and our brilliance is going to be on some next level stuff. And it's a really exciting conversation to have. I appreciate y'all coming out. This was dope. It's always good to unpack Blackness.